everyone. In today's video, we will see the difference between a Python module and a Python package. Usually people get confused with these two terminologies. What is a Python module? It's a function or it's a set of instructions which is going to perform certain operations, and it is going to help the user to reuse them instead of going again and typing all the instructions. Like we see, what's a function? Function is nothing but it's a collection of instructions which can be called and which can be reused. And similarly, modules are going to have a group of functions inside them, and each function is going to perform its unique operation. And we can keep using them, and it can be used and it can be reused also from the programmer's end. It can be updated, it can be modified according to the usage. So the different types of functions are user-defined functions and the built-in functions. So these functions are all going to be compiled and they're going to be used as modules. For example, if you look at math functions, so the square root or sine, cos, all these are functions which is going to belong to a module which is called as a math module. So usually when you're using these modules, you need to use a keyword before that, which is going to be the import keyword. So what happens is the import keyword is going to help the Python to fetch the required function which the developer is going to be accessing from the respective modules. So the modules looks very similar to a box, which is going to have smaller boxes which are going to contain functions. So if you look at a math module, inside the math module, you will have smaller boxes or smaller functions which is going to render its requirement to the user. Here in the example over here on the screen, you can see the random module. The random module helps us to fetch the required function from the module called as random. So randint is one of such function, and when you're using the randint, you're supposed to be using the module name, that is random, and the dot operator followed by randint. So what happens here is the randint function is going to be supplying values from lower limit 1 to the upper limit 9. So numbers between 1 to 9 will be returned back to the console. So you can see that it is helping us to generate numbers between 1 to 9. Similarly, you can use or you can import the random module in another way, another form that can be used from this line over here, from random import randint. So you're going to specify which module name and from where you're going to import it. So random is going to be the module and randint is going to be the function. If you're very specific and you know that only you're going to use a randint, because in the random module you have other modules apart from randint. So you have rand and other things which is also defined inside the random module. Similarly, in math module, you will be having other functions such as add, or you're going to look at them. Similarly, in math module, you will be looking into functions such as square root, finding the power, or finding ceil of a given number, floor of a given number, and so on. Now let us look at the user-defined module. Right now we have seen how to use the built-in module. Built-in modules have two steps. One is to use the import and call the module name. The second one is you are using the module name, dot operator, and the function name. But when we are going to create our module, that is a user-defined module from scratch, I have showed certain steps which is going to be followed. So the following question is on the screen, so you can do it along with me. We are going to create a module which is called the basic math, and it is going to have so and so functions. So it's going to have functions to add, functions to subtract, multiply, divide, and it's going to return a validation which is divide by 0 error. And apart from that, we are going to look at what is a docstring and why we are creating modules, how we are going to create the modules and why we are creating it, and how to import our module and execute these functions, right? We have created 4 different functions and how to implement them and how to make a call to these functions. So let us move on to our program now. Now, when you're creating your modules, the basic requirement is to create a docstring. Now, most of us know we are going to use comments in a program, right? So the docstring is nothing but it is comments which is going to be written right on top of your program. So when you're looking at a module creation or our own module creation, the user-defined module creation, what happens is we are going to have a similar comment line at the right on top of the beginning with the triple quotes. And it's just a normal comment on what your module is going to be and details about that module. So you might have 4 functions, you can have 4 function definitions. Then next one is going to be a user-defined function definition. So user-defined function definition is nothing but the body of the functions which is going to be defined inside the program. Then you're going to save the file and then you come out of the file, go to your interactive mode. You have to import your module with the module name, and with your module name you're just going to call the functions which you have defined. Is it simple? So we are going to follow 3 different steps. The first one is to write the docstring. Never forget to write the docstring, because if in case you are going to hand over your module to someone else, they might need to see or they might need to read the summary of your module. So it helps them to have a quick review on that. The second step is to create the user-defined function. So right now in our program, which we are going to do, we are going to have 4 different functions: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and divide. We are going to save the file and then come out of it, go to the interactive mode, import it with the program name, that's your module name, that is stored in .py extension, and we are going to execute the function like the normal function which we have been using to import from the built-in function, that is the module name and the function name. But for our built-in user-defined function, we are going to use our name of the module dot and our function which we have defined. So let's move to the program code. Now if you look at the screenshot of my program which I have done, this is my docstring and I have 4 functions defined. This is my function definition 1, function definition 2, function definition 3 and 4. Now if you look at the function definitions, all of them are going to receive data, right? And we are going to have X and Y data flowing in from the user. So once you finish typing in this, the third step is to save the file. So my file name is saved as basic math. Now come out and move to the interactive mode. And once you come to the interactive mode, you can import, or you can open a new script mode itself and start importing the program name. When you're going to save this, you're going to save it with the program name .py. That program name you need to import, like you're importing the built-in module. So import math is what we have used, or import random, which we have seen in the built-in module. But over here we are going to use import basic math, because this program which I have written is saved as basic math. And what I do is I'm going to print basicmath.doc. So this is going to show me the documentation or the comment line, the docstring which I have written, the summary of what my module is containing all about. Now the second one is, if you look at the function definition, my function definition receives 2 different data, that is the X and Y. So when I'm calling the function, I'm going to call the function with the module name dot the function name which is inside the module. So add number is my module name. So I'm going to call that and I'm going to use that. Plus, remember that I have X and Y as my data flowing in. So I need to provide, as a user, I need to provide what is my X and Y value from the called procedure. So once when I call the procedure, the function call leaves the body here and it goes into the library, searches for the module basic math, hands over 2 and 5 to the function called add math. And 2 and 5 is going to return the addition of the numbers and it is going to return 7 when I'm going to press the enter key. Because A is over here, A is going to store the data which is going to be passed into the function definition, and I'm using a return keyword where the control returns the data back to the called functionality. So A stores my function or the data returned from the function, and I'm going to print the data returned from the function, that is 7. So this is about our module creation. Now apart from that, you have another function called as help, which is going to help you with the name, description, the function, the basic details of my module which I have created. So if, for example, you can go and get help from any module. So if you say help math or help whatever module you have created, these are your basic standard instructions or data which is going to be returned to you so that you know more about the module. So that is. So you can try another program. Convert Fahrenheit to centigrade and centigrade to Fahrenheit, and you can access it as a function. So you can try this out by yourself. Over here, I have given two constances. Constances can be fixed or the data can be frozen. So the freezing centigrade and the freezing Fahrenheit temperatures, I am going to make that as a constant, and the rest of them are very similar. So to convert Fahrenheit to centigrade and centigrade to Fahrenheit, you're creating the function definitions, and once you finish creating the function definitions, you can come out of it, save it. So my program name saved is going to be temp conversion. So when you look at the program, I am trying to move and type in on a script over here, a new script where I'm trying to change the input instruction a little bit. So what I do is I'm going to ask the compiler to fetch from temperature conversion module import star. So import star means whatever functions is being recorded as module functions inside the module temperature, you're going to be able to access it. Then I'm going to print the constant freezing C, and I can change the freezing centigrade data as -17. As you can see, you will be able to get the output when you run it on the screen, because there are two print statements. You will be able to get that. Apart from this, you have something called as a namespace. Namespace are going to resolve the name conflicts. Now, if you look at your program, there are multiple names or there are multiple variable names which are going to be given, and there are different levels. If you have read the scope of variables, you will be able to understand that the lifetime of a variable is limited to the block under which it's been defined. For example, if you're using a for loop, and inside the for loop, if you have mentioned a variable I, so that is what is known as a variable scope. So the variable I has a scope only within the looping structure. Now, once you finish with the looping structure and you're trying to access the I outside the looping structure, you will not be able to access the I data. So how does Python resolve the scope for these name clashes? So if I'm going to use two I's or two A's inside the program, we call something called as a namespace. So the namespace allows us to look into the scope resolution. So when you're looking at the scope resolution, this is the scope resolution resolving diagram. So the names in the lower level namespace are always given the higher preference. They are going to be taken over. For example, you have a method over here, or if you're going to use the method variable name as x. So inside this, x is going to be given the first preference. Now each time you level up or you move outside, that particular variable is going to be taking your space, or it's going to be taking the data inside that, and that particular variable is going to be used. So over here, all the variables names are decided as x. So if you look at that, this is the local variable which is going to be used currently if in case the method is being accessed. So as and when you move up, the resolution or the scope is going to be moving up onwards. So then you will be able to resolve the name resolution. So the first hierarchy is the built-in, then it goes to global, then the class name, and then the method name. So if there are any built-in namespaces, that is going to be first executed. If you're going to declare any variable as global, this particular global and local will be studied in functions. I will be doing that in the other videos. So you can look into function videos where I have explained this. And the class namespace is nothing but it is the object and the class within which it's been defined. The method namespace is the variable which is having its lifetime inside the method. Then you have the loop also, or the block system. The block system acts like this. So if you have a variable declared inside a loop, the lifespan of that particular variable is limited inside a loop or a conditional statement. So if and if else also, if you have variables, so the lifetime of that particular variable relies on that particular block. So once the block is being executed, it's completed, then you are going to end the variable's lifetime there. Okay, so this is all about modules, my friends. So next session I will be talking about packages. Thank you.